Hi, and welcome to the CAFMA Connect. I'm Assistant Chief Cody Rose. Here with me today is our Fire Inspector from Prevention, Jim Madden. Jim, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Good morning.
I'm good. Jim has not been on the podcast before, and I just realized that yesterday when he told me that. So welcome, Jim. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm here too.
And I guess we should talk about Chief Freitag, who is not here today, as you've probably noticed. He's, I don't know, Kathy, is he out in surgery or back pain, or did he say something bad to somebody? I'm not really sure where he's at. He said something or did something, so he's out for a week. We think he might be back next week.
You might think surgery, but actually I think it's well-earned vacation. I think it's just vacation.
So it's something with a Jeep.
So
He'll come back having hurt something.
Yeah. His Jeep's hurt or he's hurt, one of something. So you might see Chief Freitag back next week. If not, maybe Chief Adam will be here. Somebody will be here. So, Jim, let's talk a little about you. So you haven't been here before. So let's, how'd you get here? How'd you come to CAFMA? What have you done? Talk about your previous lives.
Yeah, well, it's a long story, but, my wife and I were both born in Arizona, and so I've lived here all my life. I worked for Game and Fish for about 25 years, and then I got lucky and stumbled upon this place, and they took a chance on me, and here I am. So,
how long you been here now?
It'll be 3 years in April. Yeah.
And you like it?
I love it.
Yeah, you've been involved in a little bit of a turnaround or turnover, however you want to look at that. So different regime that you've have now than what you've had when you first started. Yeah, good and bad to that, obviously.
Sure,
lots of knowledge and lots of different people. But so one of the things we wanted to talk about, since you're the man for Knox Boxes, and Knox Boxes have been a hot topic here lately. For the folks that don't know, we switched to an electronic Knox box versus the old key that we had. We used to have multiple keys depending on the location where we went, and now we have an electronic one. So, Jim, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, it's probably that digital age that we live in, I guess. But the new electronic key offers a lot more security for the business owners and a lot more accountability for us. So that's a good thing, I think. It's been a little interesting to learn how to change out locks and stuff, and talk to business owners about getting their boxes upgraded and whatnot. But I think it's a good transition in the long run, and it'll obviously enhance security a lot. So,
how does it benefit a business switching to the electronic one versus the key? Why would they want to upgrade that?
Well, it's a much higher level of security. So the keys, if a key is lost, someone can get right in that box if they found the keys, and then they have access to the business, which is not a good thing. The new Knox boxes, first off, to get the actual electronic key out of the box, you have to enter in your employee code. So every time an employee removes that key from one of the stations that the keys live in, that's all time and date stamped, as well as when they return it. And then the electronic key requires a password, or a passcode, I should say. So, if you found that key on the ground, it's worth nothing to you because you're never going to figure out what the passcode is for it. And then on top of that, the key only stays alive, if you will, for a certain amount of time, and then it shuts down, so it can't be used anyway. So, it's kind of a long story, but I think it's way better for the businesses, and it's going to be better for us too.
Is there a tracking system? Can you talk a little bit about the tracking system? So if we use that key in a business and we're trying to determine who was there and when they were there, or whatever that looks like, what's that look like?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good point. So when we take the key out of the box, there's a record of that. When we open a key box with that key, there's a record of that as well. When it was opened, by whom, and when the box was closed back up. So every time a box is open now, we'll know that.
And that kind of helps us a little bit in that if we lose one of these digital keys, which they just look like a key fob for your car, but if we lose one of those, we can look back and see, like, this firefighter was the last person to use it on this engine at this time at this business. Yeah. And then we can go to that firefighter and say, hey, do you have that key? Oh, yeah, I left it in my pocket or my pants or whatever it was. Here
absolutely.
It is.
And keys do get lost, right? Yeah. So everyone loses keys, but these keys open all these boxes up, so they can't be floating around like that.
Yeah. And like you talked a little bit about the benefit of a physical key versus the e-key is the physical key. We lose that. if we can't find that key, technically we as a fire district should be going out to every business and changing out that
Exactly.
tumbler of the key to a different key, so
Yeah.
that person can't get in all the businesses in our fire district. So this e-key kind of prevents that from happening. If we lose one, it's not as much stress anymore. Whereas other than the key alone is $450, but if we lose the key, it's not as big as a deal to us now that we have these e-keys versus a physical key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now let's talk a little about the city of Prescott. So City of Prescott and CAFMA are working jointly on a lot of things. Knox is one of these things that's come up. They have a physical key still currently, and we've switched to this. Do you know anything about that integration of how we're going to work together with the City of Prescott and getting them upgraded to these electronic keys?
I don't. Although I do know that we've been talking with the City of Prescott to get that figured out, and I'm sure down the road that will be a simple solution, but I haven't heard anything about that.
Okay, I think it's coming. I don't know.
Yeah,
And
I imagine it is.
Maybe Daryl knows a little bit more about that as a fire marshal, but one of the benefits of that would be with that key, electronic key could work anywhere in the City of Prescott's jurisdiction or CAFMA's jurisdiction for both districts. So if it's a City of Prescott engine comes into CAFMA, they can use it, or if we go into the City of Prescott, which like 51 is in the City of Prescott fairly regularly. So yeah, I think it's coming soon. Maybe it's in the new budget year after July 1st, but I think that was one of the things coming soon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like I said, I hadn't heard that, but I'm not surprised. And obviously, we do a lot of things with the City of Prescott, and they do things with us, so it only makes sense.
Let's talk a little bit about so the boxes that we have in the engines where the keys live and are stored and are charged and all that stuff. What are some of the issues that have come up from our folks of using the keys, or how does this process work, or getting the keys charged, or keys not being charged? What's some of that stuff that maybe would help our folks that are watching or listening?
Well, you have to be careful how the key goes in the box. And I learned this the hard way because one day I removed my key to use it and it won't work. And I didn't know what was going on. But Knox was pretty good about their customer support. So Jonah got on the phone with them, and they were actually able to look at my vehicle with my key holder and tell us that, hey, the holder of the key is not resting right in the box, which is interesting because I had no idea. So, there's little green lights and yellow lights, and you probably have to pay attention to those. But generally speaking, not a problem. Key slides in, you lock it down, and it's good to go. If they're not set up right, or if the box actually doesn't have any connection to the internet where it downloads data, that can cause problems. You can't just take this key and throw it in your pocket or your turnouts and leave it there for a week. It's not going to work anymore. So it has to be returned to the box after use every time, which is important to note for our users.
Yes. And I think one of the captains had asked me that. I think they're good for an hour. I think that's the current setting that we have it on. So you can't come to work that morning and put it in your pocket and it's whatever call we're going to go on, we're going to use it, because most likely if it's after an hour, that key's not going to work because it's dead now until you go put it back in the box and it reactivates and recharges itself.
Yeah, and it doesn't take long to reset the key to go back in the box, but yeah, that's important for them to note. And that thing's pretty heavy for what it is. I don't know if I want to carry it around my pocket anyway, but I'm not a guy that likes to carry a lot of junk around. So anyway.
And if anybody's out there of our CAFMA personnel that needs training on these e-keys, Jim, I'm sure, would be more than happy to do it. EJ, also one of our other newer inspectors, has been going around and doing some of that training. So reach out to the prevention division, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to come to your station and do some training for you on that. Now, we do have Knox boxes on every engine currently, correct?
I hope so.
That answer is yes. I was just seeing if Jim knew that, but the answer to that is yes. That was a little bit of an issue a couple weeks ago, but that got resolved. I know 540 was just done over the weekend.
Good.
Last weekend. So they're done. The 2 battalion chief trucks are done. So every first out engine and BC has Knox boxes on them, as well as each of the 5 prevention vehicles has them as well. Yep. So if there's ever an issue, like currently we talked about the City of Prescott, if the City of Prescott comes to CAFMA's jurisdiction and needs an e-key for some reason, they can reach out to any one of those resources and have them unlock that box for them. If it's during the day, obviously reach out to preventions. During nighttime, an engine or a BC can go there and do that for them.
Absolutely.
What else is new in prevention?
Well, we've split up our jurisdiction, if you will, so that the inspectors, myself included, are a lot more efficient, I think, than we used to be. it was that you'd go through a list or search the list for business inspections that needed to be done, and you just go do them. That resulted in a lot of driving all over town, even driving from Prescott Valley to Chino or whatever. And so now we have 3 different kind of sectors, if you will. We have a east side, which is going to be EJ. I'm kind of in the central Prescott Valley stuff, and then Kevin will be handling most of Chino Valley and the outlying areas around Prescott. So, and it already, in my mind, it's amazing how much more I can get done when I'm not driving around all over the place. So that's a good thing. What other new things in prevention are going on?
Well, tell me about the board. I see a board in there every time I go in there. There's some check marks by people's names, and I even seen Kathy's name on there last time that I looked. So.
Kathy makes the board once in a while, but we just like to give people a hard time and have a lot of fun. We actually have too much fun sometimes, but that's our constructive criticism board. So when someone's not happy with what we're doing, they get a little check mark. That's all. And you can, just like you can gain check marks, you can lose your check marks too. So it's kind of a little.
There haven't been very many check marks on there last time I've looked. So
no, and I've never had a check mark myself, but not a legitimate one.
I don't have any check marks.
Kathy's had a couple, actually.
No. I do think there was a couple check marks.
Well, you need to bring the board in next week.
By the way, she needs one because yesterday I was in her office and her little candy bowl mysteriously disappeared. So there's no snacks in her office anymore.
It's really disappointing. Yeah.
That's because I eat it all and I need to knock it off.
Absolutely.
Well, good. Well, Jim, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad everybody got to meet you. Again, for our folks, if you ever need anything from Prevention Division, feel free to reach out to any of them, and I'm sure they're more than happy to come out and spend some time with you, answer some questions for you, and maybe even take you to some of the new businesses that are being built right now.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm known for bringing breakfast burritos on request.
Ooh.
I like those.
You might have just upped the ante.
Breakfast
Somebody's going to be calling you. Your phone's going to be ringing before we even leave out of here
That's
now.
okay. No worries.
Well, thank you, Jim.
You bet. Thank you, sir.
And until next week, again, I'm not sure who you're going to see next week, but until next week, we will see you. Have a great weekend and week. Thank you.